With this year being the 20th anniversary of Cars, I've done a lot of thinking about what types of items are missing from my collection. I have well over 1,000 Cars diecasts now, but there are still a lot of types of diecasts that I'm missing or don't have many of in my collection. And when looking for cars to ask for last Christmas and for my birthday this year, that's something that I really honed in on. One item I had none of until now are rubber tires cars. Yes, of course, I have several Precision Series items who have rubber tires, but when it comes to the rubber tires Piston Cup racers and World Grand Prix racers and such, I never had any of them. Back in 2008, 2009, and 2010, they had these big Kmart collector events where they would release a ton of store-exclusive rubber tire Piston Cup racers. This then continued. They did a set for Cars 2 with the World Grand Prix racers, and although it wasn't done through Kmart in 2018, they even did a set of rubber tires Cars 3 cars, which are super rare, and to this day, I honestly still don't know how they released them. Yeah, that's going to be a nightmare when I have to cover those in diecast history. But, I never got any of these cars, because when they started doing these when I was like 4 and 5 years old, how was I supposed to know that they were doing a Kmart collector event where they were releasing a ton of new Piston Cup cars, right? And the crazy thing is, this was like the main way to get Piston Cup cars. There were very few in the main line from 2006 to 2010. And the way to get most of them would be through these rubber tire releases. Of course, you could get all their normal versions in the Motor Speedway at the South set, but even back then, good luck getting that, obviously, right? They only started to release these guys as normal singles after the release of Cars 2. That's when they started frequently releasing the Piston Cup racers. So, as somebody who, mainly collected cars as a kid in the first few years of the line, I spent my childhood only having a few racers. Leakless, Nitrowade, RPM, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., as well as, of course, McQueen, the King, and Chick Hicks. As the years went on and I had a few cars phases, I went through and I bought a couple of other items. And then, after I started my channel, I started buying every new car that was coming out that I didn't have. Of course, I was able to build up my Cars 1 Racer collection because Mattel released every single Cars 1 Piston Cup racer except the ones they legally couldn't re-release from 2018 and finally finished it just last year. So I was able to build up my Piston Cup collection over time, but yeah, with the rubber tires Piston Cup racers being Kmart exclusives and also being the main way to get these racers, I never got any. And since one of my rules for collecting was not to buy Cars 1 Piston Cup racers online because I felt there was no point since they were going back and re-releasing all of them anyway, and I knew I'd eventually get a full set, which of course I now have. I just never ended up with any of these. So I decided last Christmas to ask for a rubber tires Piston Cup racer, and I literally told my mom, any of them. You could get any of them that you want to get. And she ended up getting me Leakless, which I think is a great choice because, come on, absolutely iconic character. So shout out my mom. I think she knows, of course, the significance of Leakless being one of the classic Cars sponsors. So I'm very excited to open this up, even though it literally is just regular Claude Scruggs, but with rubber tires. This is an item that I'm super excited to add to my collection. Anyway, guys, welcome back to another review, and to another, to a rubber tires diecast review for the first time in the history of the channel. This is, of course, Leakless number 52, better known nowadays as Claude Scruggs, from the 2009 Kmart exclusive rubber tires collection. This year, they didn't put character artwork on the packaging, they just used a generic picture of McQueen, the King, and Chick Hicks. Something far more common nowadays with store-exclusive lines, so it's interesting to see it all the way back in 2009. And this, of course, is like that classic promo image of the three of them. I really like that the racer sponsors were put up in the corner, just something special for each of the different packages. Synthetic rubber tires, this is sort of the one constant throughout these rubber tire releases. They always have this little band that tells you that. Of course, since this is 2009, we have the ticket-style name tag, though it does look different from regular singles from the year. And on the back of the package, it's really not interesting. I was never a big fan of these items with the double-sided bubble. They never put anything interesting on the back because you got to put all of the legal information. We do have an ad for what was the Mattel Collectors website at the time, MattyCollector.com. I've never seen this image before. Matty Collector himself seems like somebody I would not want to interact with. Look at it. Look at it. He's wearing a crown. What do you have to be so smug about? You're Maddie Collector. Like, nobody thinks you're cool, MaddieCollector.com, Maddie Collector. Look at him. He seems like the type of guy that would get arrested for, like, jaywalking too often. Exclusive toys, news, and more. Wow. And then here's, like baby Maddie Collector on the phone. Look at him. He's abandoned his son. He's going to get hurt. He's next to the arrow symbol and the Mattel. Look how spiky that is. Maddie Collector, watch after your son. He's going to get hurt. Okay, so we got to get this out of the package. And again, these are always a nightmare to preserve. But ooh, sometimes when you review an old item, the glue was kind of dry and it pops off really easily. So this might be easier than I thought, except it's not, because it looks like we have tape. Oh, wait, hold on. The tape is also dried out. Okay. Yeah, at least on that side. Oop, okay, we can just rip the tape easily. Okay, so that's good. These always make me so nervous whenever I have to review something with this double-sided clamshell. Because I always want to preserve that packaging. I especially need to preserve Maddie Collector and his son. So the way I do it is I just rip it off from both sides to the best of my ability. So now we just have this loose double-sided clamshell in case you want to capture a Cars diecast. And to the best of our ability, the salvage package, which just looks so bad if you collect card backs. It just looks really awkward. So we do have a pamphlet, which I assume... Oh, man, yeah, it's just the normal pamphlet. They didn't make a special one for these. That's a shame. This is actually the Gen 1 lenticular pamphlet. I don't think I have this one on my wall, actually. Is it behind Mobius? Excuse me, Owen Wilson. No, it's not. Okay, cool. I'd assume I have another copy of this somewhere. This is like the Generation 1 lenticulars. Mater, Sally, Radiator Springs McQueen, Kathy, Ron, Dexter Hoover, Dynaco McQueen, Tex. And on the back, you got the tuners. We've got McQueen, the King, and Jake Hicks. And we've got Pit Crew Guido and Lightning Ramon. And a little look for more. And of course, the green here to match up with the bottom of the bubble, which is always a really cool detail. Makes a lot less sense with this packaging than it did for regular Racerama, where the background was already that green grass, but whatever. And now here we have Leakless out of the package. Psych, fooled you. That's my regular one. I totally could have reviewed that. People would probably be like, why is he kind of dented? You just opened him. But here is the actual Rubber Tires Leakless. And it's kind of trippy to have like a classic Leakless diecast when mine has all of these scuffs that it's had for so long. Here it is. You can already tell just because it's straight out of the box. Much more vibrant yellow colors, which I'd assume has nothing to do with the release and just has to do with the fact that mine I've had for 20 years and he's a little worn. But yeah, very cool. So you can already tell he rolls a lot smoother. We'll look at the wheels in just a minute. For now, let's just look at all your general Leakless details. Leakless adult drip pans, number 52 there on the headlight. That classic expression, complete with, of course, the raised eyebrows. It's going to be a bit strange to turn since you got those rubber tires. We've got the number 52 logo inside of the drip pan, which I always liked, with sort of an oil stain or a leak, perhaps. We've got the piston cap, nitroate, revolting, octane gain, mood springs, Vitaline, no stall, gaskets, Gasprin, easy idle RPM, little torquey pistons. We've got Leakless down there, retread, and clutch aid. We also have a little bit of a paint scuff there, if you see right above my finger, which is interesting. And yeah, you could already see the tires here are a little bit thicker. The light year is a bit less defined because it's printed on rubber. They're definitely wider, as you can see. Again, we'll take a closer look at that in just a moment. We got the gas cap there, all your typical logos, Leakless adult drip pans, 52 up there. On the back, we've got adult drip pans, watch your wheels. I'm sorry for saying it that way. I don't know what's happening to me. And of course, Leakless has a little bit of an asymmetrical design with the Leakless logo here. One of very few cases where they were like, you know what? Let the gas cap be. We're not going to put the logo there because usually it just completely covers up the logo. So they put it on this side. And yeah, now let's look at those rubber tires. Guys, those tires, they're rubber. Whoa! That's crazy. That's almost like that's the entire point of the item. You know, it is pretty funny. I think nowadays if they made these, they would definitely give them unique expressions. Here, these are going to be right next to each other on my shelf, and the only thing that's going to tell them apart is the fact that this one looks newer, right? Like this one has a brighter yellow. This one is less scuffed. You can't tell that it is a Rubber Tires item, but I'm very, very happy to have this. So, let's see. Yeah, the wheels, they all roll independently. Again, they're going to run smoother. You have basically no noise there. Unfortunately, unlike the Precision Series cars, the tires aren't treaded. Precision Series cars, to use another racer, McQueen, they all had treaded wheels, which is such a cool thing. You know, even characters that weren't McQueen, everyone had wheels accurately treaded, accurately detailed to who they were, and it let them all roll with sort of texture. These are rubber tires, but they're smooth. They're completely smooth, and yes, that is typical for rubber tire cars. I remember I had some NASCAR toys as a kid that had rubber tires. I would pretend one was Todd Marcus because it looked kind of like him. But yeah, it rolls very, very smoothly. How's it going to handle turns? Yeah, it takes those turns very smoothly, very nice. There's something about sort of the roughness of a plastic car, but these rubber tire ones are just really, really nice, and they add a fun extra level of authenticity that you aren't getting with a regular diecast. Super unique concept, and something that I'm very happy is part of the history of the Cars diecast line. And speaking of which, since it is the 20th anniversary of Cars, I've been adding a small segment to the end of my reviews where I talk about why the item I'm reviewing is significant, and why do I think Rubber Tires Leakless is significant to the Cars diecast line as a whole? Well, it's like I just said. It provides a special amount of authenticity that traditional diecasts don't get. He's also important because, like I said at the start of the review, this was kind of the main way to get piston cup racers for quite a while. And while Leakless was an item that you could find in regular releases, I'm sure plenty of people went out of their way to pick up this version specifically because of those synthetic rubber tires. I think items other than him are a bit more important because this was the first sort of mainstream way to get a lot of the piston cup racers, but still, if you're doing piston cup racers from the first movie, you gotta have Leakless. He is one of the most important racers here. So I think this is important because, yeah, it adds some extra authenticity. It was kind of part of the main way to get piston cup racers in the early days of the Cars diecast line, and also it stands out as a very early store exclusive. The fact that by 2008 we could have whole Cars collector events at Kmart proved that this was a popular toy line that wasn't going anywhere. And to get that many store exclusives, well, it starts something we still see to this day with getting unique character variants exclusive to stores. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Wait, can we take these off? Yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna try it, but you could. Wait, I do have rubber tire cars. I have the Rubber Tire Demolition Derby cars. Oh, Tide lied. Oh, unsubscribing. Oh, no, canceled on Twitter.com. Oh. Okay, no, but like those aren't pisting up. Okay, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.